Okay, so again, we talked today about the research methodology. Okay, so in your chapter 3, that's where you can find the method on how are you going to answer your statement of the problem. Okay, so I have to admit still many students. Um, so the chapter 3 it talks about the method on how are you going to derive an answer in your statement of the problem. So going back again, for those who do not actually participate in your group discussion or group activity, first the title must be in line with the degree program in which you are enrolled. Okay, and as much as possible, it should be very specific. And out of the title, you come up with the problem. Okay, and the problem would always answer the title. So you can come up with the 5 problems based on, or it would depend on how you are going to answer it. Normally, it depends on the number of chapters that you're going to produce. In our standard, in our school, we have to produce 5 chapters. So sometimes your problems should not be. It could be more than 5, but should not be. It should always be very specific to answer only the problems you have. Okay, so it must be the problem must be an answer to the problem, to the title, and the answer to the problem will always be based on the method. Okay, so out of the problems you crafted, you come up now with a method. So your answer in the in each problem, okay, must be found in your results and discussion, which is in your chapter 4. But as to how are you going to derive the answer, the method is found in your chapter 3. Okay, so this is very important because it's the formula on how to derive an answer. So what are the things that you can find in the statement of the problem? In one of the research, um, a thesis defend the week, um, the author side from the standard that we set, there must be a research design, research instrument, research environment, statistical treatment, and including ethical method or ethical consideration, okay, which are actually things that can be found in chapter 3. The student as well include other items. Okay, you can do that, but of course sometimes you have to focus only on those on different subchapters. If it is not included, if you think that that is subtopic of a certain um, subtitle in the statement in the research methodology, it may either be research design, statistical treatment, or research respondent, or research environment, then you just as well include that and do not separate that from the main subtopic. It may be allowed, okay, but sometimes the panel might be strict to the subtitle or subtopic of chapter 3. Okay, so what are the things that you can find in chapter 3? The research design, okay, qualitative, quantitative, or different method that you're going to employ. Now, in each problem, take note. You go back to statement the problem. It doesn't mean there that if your if your research is qualitative, okay, make it sure rather that all of the statement of the problem can be answered qualitatively. Okay, because there are statements of the problems, if you notice, that although it's qualitative, but if you dissect it, it may be in a form of asking the respondent, and which is a quantitative in nature. Okay, so you'd rather put it a mixed method. Okay, so it is allowed. So each of this problem could either be quantitative, okay, or it could be the problem number 2 is qualitative, where you have the key informants, where you have key informants, Okay, and instead of you will be sending them an interview or survey questionnaire. All you have to do is to interview, or you can simply interview certain groups. We call it as focus group discussion or FGD. Why? Because you pinpoint who are those persons can probably answer the question. Okay, so do not just simply ask anybody who has no knowledge of the topic that you are researching. So make it sure that they have full knowledge. They are the person in authority who can probably answer the question. Okay, so that is why you put it there in your research design. Okay, including the method, whether it is quanti, quali, or under that there are several subtopics or different methods. Okay, so you just dissect where will it fall, or and then in your research environment you have to indicate there where are you going to conduct the study. Okay, so you have to give the specific location, and you also give the reason why you're going to choose the place. You can simply choose any other place if that does not give you an information. Okay, or do not choose a place that might be your comfort. Otherwise it may be of your comfort but it doesn't give anything. Okay, the place has no relation to the topic that you are researching. Now, so you have to, if possible, show the map if you are talking of a research um, location or environment. Now, you have to explain as well in your method why you choose that, or if that would really answer into your problem. Okay, so it is a step by step formula to come up with the result. So all of that are found in your research methodology or your chapter 3. So it's very crucial to have your research methodology clearly defined terms or formula. Now, what are other things that you can find in this research methodology? You can also find there the statistical treatment. Okay, so going back to the problem, because the problems is actually the key of all the contents in chapters 3 and 4, including the chapter 5. So the basic, actually the key of the research is the problem. Okay, so now each problem must be again answered in your results and discussion, but your method would state there how are you going to answer each problem. Okay, so as to problem number 1, this is how you're going to answer it. It's a qualitative. You can ask the, if it's quality, then search, interview the key informants. We call it as key informants. For quantitative, we call it as respondents in the survey. Okay, so each of that problem may either be qualitative or quantitative. So you have to explain that. Let's say problem number 3, it's quantitative because you're going to send questionnaire to the respondents, okay, in the form of survey questionnaire, where you have to draft a statement that would probably be an indicator of problem number 3. To answer problem number 3, we call it as indicator. Okay, or if you are evaluating a certain policy, all you have to do is you go into the statement of policy. Okay, and where can you find that? It is found in the statement of state policy. Okay, if you are evaluating a government policy, then look at the law um, that that policy is actually lifted. Okay, like for example, 4 Ps, that comes from the um, state policy of protecting the giving employment or protecting the people. Okay, that's found in statement in the state policy, which is found in the constitution. Okay, and that part of the constitution where that law is based is actually lifted as well and verbatim found in that new law now, that or program. Okay, so in evaluating it, you go into the state policy. What are those? And then you have to indicate what are those policy as a basis now of your, as an indicator or a parameter of your, um, to answer that specific problem in your research, in the, in chapter 1, okay, or in your statement of the problem. Now, so in, we go into the different, um, survey questionnaire and interview, okay. So in a survey questionnaire, okay, going back to our example, if you are evaluating a policy, all you have to do is to make really a, an indicator to prove that they are following that state policy, okay. So you cannot just make any indicator or out of nowhere, otherwise it will not evaluate a certain policy or program of government, okay. All you have to do is what, look at their statement of, or the mission and vision or state policy, if they really comply, okay. So if they're following it, then all you have to do is to make a statement to prove that they are following it by putting it there in your, um, survey questionnaire and evaluation using Likert scale. It could be either 1 to 4, 1 to 5, or 1 to 7, okay. So, or it could either be very poor, poor, um, and neutral, and then so on and so forth, okay. Or it could be agree, disagree, neutral, or strongly agree, or it depends, okay, on what type of question you are formulating. So you can have several types of Likert scale, okay. And I would like to suggest that if possible, use only up to 5. Why? Because it's easier. Because if it's up to 1 to 7, okay, the 6 and 7 may vary, and you cannot distinguish clearly, okay. So whereas if it's up to 1 to 5, it's very clear that there's a distinction between 1, 4, and 5, okay. Because respondents might be confused whether that answer would fall either, would be rated as either 5 or 6, okay. So if they only have few choices, then probably the answer is very clear that indeed there's no this, wide, or there is, um, a clear demarcation between 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay. So they will not be confused as to whether they will put their 5 or 1 or 4, okay. Because when you are evaluating, you might be confused, what should I put? Is this 5 or